Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of the MVP Fantasy Football and Sports Podcast. My name is Tyler Joneson. With me, as always, the wide receiver expert, Ryan Elke. We just got done doing our Saturday and Sunday drafts, the biggest draft weekend. I know that Ryan has one tonight, and you're kind of all over the board, Ryan, when it comes to the type of drafts and the type of leagues that you're doing. Just kind of fill me in. Exactly. You were telling me about a 14-man league and a touchdown-only league. What are all the leagues that you're in right now?
I have upped it to 10 leagues I'm in. All of them, 9 of them are PPR. One of them's half-point PPR. I'm in a handful of 10s, a couple 12s, a 14. That's all it ranges to. And a touchdown-only league that's 12 players. A touchdown-only league is the one where I'm chasing the title. I've never won it yet. It's just really tough, and this is my 12th year in it. It's just all luck, though. The guys that ran it, the guy that runs it was the guy that was running fantasy football since like the late 80s. So he's an older guy. Yeah, and they used to do touchdowns only because they had to look in the newspaper and look for stats, and the easiest way was just look at touchdowns. So they just continued that, and they have never adapted to the new age.
That's crazy.
I rolled up in my Fred Flintstone car just to try to get along with them.
Goodness gracious. And like we tell people, you got to know that touchdowns are just, you cannot consistently, there's only a few guys where you can consistently give them touchdowns, but you're really just going for the team, and you have to kind of build around the quarterback and the type of offense that you're drafting and just hope that they're throwing it to your guy. I mean, touchdowns are kind of all over the place.
The extra stat in that league, obviously kickers are important because they are in there. It's 3 for field goal, and anything over 50 is 6, and touchdowns double as well. So quarterbacks still get 4, but if they throw a 50-plus yard touchdown, it's 8, and players, it's 6. If they get a 50-yard or 50-plus yard touchdown, it's 12. So I'm going to read you my team. I just want to know your opinion, honestly.
Is this touchdown only?
Yeah, touchdown only.
Okay.
All right, Baker Mayfield. Kerryon Johnson was there in the 4th when I picked, so I took him. I know he's not going to run for like 12 touchdowns or anything, but he's going to break off them 50-plus yarders, so I feel like he stays in my lineup. I have Latavius Murray. I feel like you can count on 6 to high-end 12 maybe this year, so I stayed safe at RB. Now, my receivers is where I've been hurting. Every year I've always taken running backs in this league because I thought that's the way to go for touchdown only. But I went the opposite way this time, and I feel like I got a nice trio. No, again, no flex in this league. They don't believe in flex. And honestly, 2 years ago, they finally opened the waiver wire. We did a supplemental draft every 4 weeks where we had to go to their house and do another draft every 4 weeks for free agents.
That's just different.
Yeah.
It's different.
I actually like it, but it was hard to get everyone together, so they just opened up the waiver wire. All right, so my wide receivers are Devontae Adams, Odell Beckham, and Mike Evans. Like, I feel that should be double digits for every player.
Those are some big boy touchdown. That's
where I'm kind of going with. And the Baker-Odell combo, I mean, if they score, say he throws a 50-yard touchdown to Beckham, that's 20 points right there between the two of them.
Yeah, but then you're going to go up against a guy that has Derrick Henry, and you can't even win that.
Henry went 2nd round because the dude that won the championship had Henry on his team, so he took him again. I guess he owed him it, so it was.
That's true. It was a respect. It was a respect.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. Evan Ingram at my tight end position.
Yeah, you got him.
Maybe messed up there. I probably should have took Hunter Henry because I think it would be more touchdowns for Hunter Henry, but I wanted the possible upside. I have big hope for Evan Ingram this year. I'm grabbing him in all the leagues I can. And then my bench has upside too. Go ahead, Tyler. What were you gonna say?
Well, and I was going to say, I was going to move on to kind of the other league we used to do was the 16-man league.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of going to miss that league this year. I thought it was a lot of fun, but we replaced it with the Dynasty. So
yeah, that's what it was.
16-man is kind of like a Dynasty already because you're building your pretty deep bench. And we kind of dropped that 16-man league and went right into the Dynasty. So
I retired on top in the 16, Tyler. I went undefeated. I had to just I knew that wasn't happening again. So.
Your team was just absolutely absurd.
Oh, stacked. I had a pretty good draft in that one.
Yeah, with 16 people, you have enough people to trade with.
Hey, I made 3 trades count. That's what happened. So my bench, though, in touchdown only, judge my bench. I mean, some of these guys aren't touchdown guys, but I got great value in them. So Miles Sanders, Kenny Golladay, Darwin Thompson, Lamar Jackson, Kenyon Drake, Dede Westbrook, Matt Breida, Dallas Goedert, Marquise Brown.
I mean, you're probably going to be dropping Marquise Brown, but
I'm kind of hoping Marquise Brown was like my final wide receiver pick because you cap out on, you can only hold 6 receivers, you can only hold 6 running backs. It's like for certain positions, it's only a certain number.
League has just had so many different rules.
So many rules, yes. And also, every trade that you make per player, $5 each go to the pot. And also, adding and dropping players is $1, which I don't agree on it. Like I said, this is a Stone Age league, so it's like.
Well, if you think of it
that way, I have to switch my whole mindset to old school, man.
If you think of it that way, looking at our Yahoo League at the end of the year, there's like 100+ transactions per team. I mean, we're just super active when it comes to being on the waiver wire and picking and dropping players.
I feel like you have to, though.
Yeah.
Like I said, the draft. You do the draft, and then going back to like championship teams a couple years ago. I had one player, I think, on that championship team that I drafted. The rest I made with waivers and trades, and that's like the new age style.
Yeah.
So this touchdown only league is a whole new monster to tackle, and I can't figure it out. I think this year I might have a good chance just because of those receivers. Hopefully I'll go double digit. Then the combo of Baker and Odell, I'm just hoping it carries me to the top. Obviously it's high expectations, but I figured I might as well give it a shot.
And we'll have to keep you or you'll have to keep us posted on how that league is going, and we'll be covering all of our leagues. I like to let the fans know, let anyone out there know who's listening how our leagues are going. I think it's a big thing when you talk to like these guys, you're listening to their podcasts. I always wonder, like we listen to fantasy footballers and the fantasy pros, I always wonder, I want updates on how their leagues are going. I mean, sometimes we'll tell you if we're losing or if we're losing games or what moves we're making. I think it's good to hear what the analysts and the people that are doing the research, what their mindset is and how their draft or how their leagues and seasons are going. So we're gonna just keep everyone posted. I know that we're gonna talk about our draft coming up here along with the news. There's some huge, and I know everyone knows what we're talking about. There's a running back and a quarterback, huge news that is coming up that we're gonna talk about. We'll touch on stats and just how they did during the season. And also, I just wanted to talk a little bit. We did the live stream on Saturday night. It's set up. There wasn't sound in the beginning, a little bit of a hiccup, but really, ultimately, it turned out great. And I'm just looking at how I can make the picture a little bit clearer when it comes to the screen on the left. So we had the screen on the left, the live stream video of the guys that are in our league on the right, and just went pick by pick through the sleeper. So make sure you go into the show notes. You click on it. It was on my Twitch, which is going to be BowTYz, BowTYz, and the actual video is there. So I'm going to try to find a way to download that video and put it up on YouTube and just give you something to look at, see how a live draft goes. And we just had a ton of fun. I mean, I had a blast doing that.
It was
live.
Awesome. Next year, though, I think we're gonna get another camera, a couple cameras. We'll use both of our webcams or something else. Maybe I'll set it up in my garage. There's a lot more room, and I think we'll be able to get better views on it all. And it'll probably go pretty smooth. So next year, I think that'll be the plan.
Yeah, we're hoping for a larger turnout when it comes to people watching and people listening to us. We're going to be doing this all season long, no matter how many people are out there listening. And it's only going to make us better when it comes to podcasting. And we already know that we're really good at fantasy. And we want to make sure that people understand that we've been playing this a long time. We're finally jumping into this podcasting and talking about it. And it just, every week, like we were talking about before this podcast, it really gets you excited for the games coming up when you get to talk to it, especially with your best friend, and you're talking about fantasy football, you're talking about who you think's going to be good, you disagree on some people, you agree on others. It's just a great time, and I hope there's people out there that want to listen to kind of our excitement for it along with yours, and then we're just going to give you great advice. So
for sure, man. The best thing that could happen is getting a nice crowd to be interactive with, but even if it doesn't happen, dude, just like getting away from the real world and podcasting and talking about sports is just a getaway, man. You know what I mean? It just relieves stress, and it's good for the soul, man.
Yeah.
That's low key what it is.
So if you're listening to us just to get away from the real world, this is a great spot. This is just a great spot. So let's jump into the news. This is a great time.
So you got any advice for me? Just, generally.
we're at an all-time high here to just talk about a really great thing in the news, and that's Andrew Luck is retiring, which is not great news.
That's horrible, man. Your 6th round pick in Dynasty. It's honestly the biggest news in football, fantasy football. I can't remember the last time something like this has happened.
The guy's sitting on the sideline at the game, and then news. Who was it? Adam Schefter?
Yeah, I think so. He leaked it.
Leaked that he was retiring, and then if you see the video or haven't seen it yet, it's pretty sad watching all the Colts fans booing as he goes off the field. And I mean, the guy has just been beat and rung up by his offensive line. That offense is not.
Well, they finally got a good offensive line, dude, and he decided to hang it up. But he has had a crazy list of injuries since he's came into the league, so I understand it. Like, and for the fans to boo him, that's ridiculous. Like if Aaron Rodgers or Matt Stafford retired right now, it's like whatever. Same with Calvin Johnson, dude. I wasn't even mad. I literally was like, I understand. Like, do your thing, man. He left.
Yeah, Calvin was
50
30.
plus million on the table. He's 30 years old.
Luck was 29.
Said he couldn't. Yeah, man. He couldn't feel a couple of his fingers. He said his ankle would like bulge up on the daily. He just didn't want to know what would happen when he got older, so he left that much money on the table and walked away from the game. How can you fault somebody for that? That's sickening. And then to hear the boos and then hear Andrew Luck's press conference, dude wanted to freaking cry, I felt like. And he was like, or he said something about I would be lying if I said I didn't hear the boos, and then he kind of put his head down or whatever, and it's like, dude, like he's human, man. But it must be nice to make $75 million and retire at age 30 and blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut up, dude. It's just so arrogant.
And when your body's hurting, and I mean, I can understand being disappointed because he is a top 5 quarterback when he's playing, and it's just like how Aaron Rodgers is. When he was in his prime, let's say he quit from then, of course it's going to be like, well, that's kind of a bummer because we really don't have a backup. But it's also another thing to understand that he gave you great football when he played.
You got to understand that it's sports. It's sports. That's the thing. That's not real life stuff, dude. First of all, Andrew Luck is going through all this stuff where he's getting destroyed year after year. He just had a baby. You know what I'm saying? He's going to run off into the sunset with his wife and his brand new kid, and he's going to be able to raise his child and spend all his time with them.
All that money that he's
and stuff like that. It's like, I get it, dude. Especially being hurt like that, you want to be there for your kid for one. He's got all the money in the world. He never has to work again. I don't know. I don't fault him at all. I see it it sucks, but for him, he made the right choice.
And let's take this time to look back at his 6 years in the league, and just look at the good that he's done for your team. I mean, he's like a Peyton Manning. I mean, he didn't go the distance, obviously, but he is that type of person when it came to when he played. I mean, the team didn't have less than 10 wins a season when he was playing and healthy. I mean, you had when he first got in the league, 23 years old, they go 11-5. Played 16, all 16 games. 2013, 11-5, played all 16 games. 2014, 11-5, played all 16 games. I mean, teams would be lucky to have that. Then he gets hurt when he turns 26. 27 was kind of his comeback. He went 8-7 and played 15. And then all of a sudden last year he goes back to that 10-6, plays 16. And he's got 39 touchdowns last year and 40 in 2014. And it's just a guy that you need to respect. I mean, you watch the videos of how nice he is on the field and off the field. There's no problem with him. It's just the injuries caught up to, I mean, his young body. To be 29, of course you have that money, but also think of if you're 29 and you're hurting every day you get up. So
I just looked up something, Tyler. I want to tell you his list of injuries, okay? You tell me if you understand or you don't understand this one. All right. Torn cartilage in 2 ribs, partially torn abdomen, a lacerated kidney that left him peeing blood, at least 1 concussion, a torn labrum in his throwing shoulder, and a mysterious calf ankle issue that led to this. Like, what? That's insane.
That's a mummy. That's a mummy body right there.
I get it. Like that right there. Anyone reads that, they're like, okay, I understand.
All right, well, Andrew Luck, great quarterback. We already adjusted the rankings. If you want to see it, go south into our show notes. I'm going to post it there every time. We're just keeping it up to date as things happen. And talking about keeping it up to date,
don't freak out on all the players, though. I wanted to mention that, though, dude. Like, T.Y. Hilton, yes, he's not going to have that wide receiver one like potential. Maybe a couple weeks he'll be in there. I just feel he'll settle as like a high 3 to mid 2 and have them games.
Yeah, let's
Obviously,
talk about the team a little bit.
But Marlon Mack still, like, he's not going to be that potential elite running back anymore, which could have happened. It might have been his breakout year. I don't see it happening anymore. But he's still serviceable. RB2, more than likely.
I mean, we were already low on Eric Ebron, but this only drops him a lot lower.
Yeah, I feel it does. Brissett is good, though. Brissett's going to be a decent quarterback. Maybe not fantasy relevant, but the guy can lead a team. And you got to remember, didn't he play in Indianapolis in his second year, though? Pretty sure it was his second year. Because his rookie year, he was on the Patriots his rookie year. And then he got traded. And then he played that whole year, his second year. So now this is his fourth year. He's going to be better. I mean, he played behind Tom Brady, Andrew Luck, so he should be better.
In 2017, he went 4-11, started 15 out of the 16 games. He had 3,000 throwing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. I think he is due for a better season. And I mean, especially if he's like, okay, now I'm the number one, they're going to throw him in there. And he's going to use these weapons.
Now he's prepared. And they have weapons. Paris Campbell, Ebron, Doyle. They got Mo Alley Cox at tight end. Dude's like 6'8". T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack, Naheem Hines. They have weapons. A good O-line.
Yeah. And I could see
him
as almost
a team anymore. They're not a Super Bowl team, but they're still going to be not terrible, I don't think.
Who would you compare him to? I think I would compare him to almost a cheap man Dak Prescott, almost a
all right, poor man's Prescott, sure.
Yeah, something like that.
He's a game manager,
maybe like a Mariota right now, and then see if he gets better.
Mariota. He's probably better than Mariota. Honestly, crazy, but I think he's better than Mariota.
So just like talking about these other quarterbacks and kind of where you want to place him, you gotta, as a Colts fan, understand that you don't have the worst. It's not like I'm trying to throw out like a backup from a quarterback. If they went down, it's like, see you later. The season's over. I mean, what was that, like San Francisco last year? So
yeah,
it was the Bengals. The Bengals last year.
Yeah,
I mean, you lose a guy like Dalton, who's not even the greatest, like Luck, and your backup's even worse than.
Dude, most of the times, if a starter goes down, the season's over anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly, like your championship aspirations are gone unless you got Nick Foles behind you.
I can see the Colts as like an even team right now. Mm-hmm. So
8-8. You never know.
Keep building. Let's see here. Next guy on the list, Lamar Miller, going down. Torn ACL. And look at that. You just got Duke Johnson out of the whim. We're going to throw them both together. Duke Johnson and Lamar Miller. So Miller done. Everyone drop him. Nobody needs him anymore.
That's torn ACL, torn MCL. Bad news.
Yeah, we're talking about the Lamar Miller who's been a workhorse. Oh my goodness, pretty much the last 2 years. He's had 238 or 210 last year, 238 the year before, 268 the year before that. I mean, he was close to 1,000 last year, and then he was 1,000 in 2016. He really, really hurt people though when it came to touchdowns. I mean,
football player, he's good. Fantasy player, not so much. But as a football player, he's a good running back, decent running back.
So then Duke Johnson now is getting thrown right into the fire. If Duke Johnson gets that week 1 start and they don't have anybody behind him, I mean, where do you rank Duke Johnson as the bell cow for Houston? Where would you put him?
So if that happens, they don't bring in outside help. I think he's safe to be drafted in PPR leagues in like the 6th round. I think.
I was gonna say like he could be
5 or
pushed
6.
all the way to 5.
In 12-man leagues, 5, 10-man leagues, maybe. Yeah, dude. Yes, that's fine. But I don't think he is going to be the bell cow. I think they get some outside help, whether it's Kenneth Dixon from the Ravens, Carlos Hyde from the Chiefs. You never know. Maybe they even trade for like Shady. I know the Bills are saying that they want to keep him, but Shady will be gone by the deadline. Then Devin Singletary will have some value.
Okay,
but it's something like that. Either way, they're going to bring someone in. I mean, there is rumors that they like Crockett, which is kind of like a bruiser. So that combo might work. But then again, how good is Duke going to be? They don't even pass to the running backs. Well, maybe it's because they haven't had a good pass catcher, but still, that kind of scares me.
Yeah, Watson doesn't have much when it comes to throwing to the running back. And you're talking about Duke Johnson, who has only had more than 100 rushing attempts once, and that was his rookie season in 2015. Other than that, it's been 73, 82, and 40. And then he really excelled in the receiving game, which we have yet to see from Houston. So, I mean, obviously they're throwing the ball over there, but not to their running back. And you're talking about targets at 74, 74, 93, and 62. That's beautiful when it comes to a running back. So if he gets that type of work, and then let's bump those rushing attempts sky high, you're talking about what would you say, even a top 15 running back if he's throughout the season. So I would definitely, if he's the lead dog there, would be seeing him go in probably the early 6, like you were talking about, next to those rookies like David Montgomery and you got Josh Jacobs right in there. So that's where I would put him. Last but not least, I wanted to jump over to Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is fully expected to play week 1. We know that he had kind of that stinger, which was suspected that he might not play week 1, which was scary coming from Keenan Allen. Everyone's scared of his, air quotes, injury risk. But it doesn't help when the number 1 wide receiver is having a little bit of pain and they're thinking that he might not play week 1. What do you think, though? It definitely hurt his drafting stock when it came to our draft. Well, actually, not even our draft.
Keenan Allen went mid to
third. He was mid-third, right?
Yeah, mid-third round, which is fine. I mean, if he fell to me in the late third, I would have took him, but he's still scary for me. I didn't think he would miss week 1. It's just already having an ankle injury, a knee injury, and whatever else he's dealing with. So that's a little too early. It's too early for me. And I had him last year. Like I said, he gave me a goose egg in a playoff game. I was lucky enough to still win. And then I started him again in the championship, and he gave me another bad performance. Well, I was going to put Anderson in, but I still won. Luckily, again, I won that, but he almost screwed me a little bit. So I kind of have I got a bad taste in my mouth, but to rely on him as your wide receiver 1 with all them injury concerns is kind of scary. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's good to jump up before him and grab yourself a wide receiver 1, because it drops off a little bit after Keenan Allen. I think that's like the drop-off point for me.
Yep, me too.
All right, and last but not least, Redskins coach Jay Gruden is saying that Case Keenum is going to be the starting quarterback. So we're not going to see a rookie started in a Redskins uniform this year. I think you see it this year. I just don't know when. Okay, I mean, I'm saying that he'll end up losing it, but you won't see him start the season.
Oh,
and
right.
Case Keenum at the helm, it makes me scared for all Redskins. I mean, the only thing
that it's gonna be rough, dude. The only thing is, like, I had high hopes for Terry McLaurin, the dude that was actually teammates with Haskins, and now he I don't know if he's gonna be relevant. Who's gonna be relevant there? Jordan Reed?
I mean, I'm
for
thinking
5 games.
Whenever you got Keenum in there, he's just gonna dump it off to the running back or the quick slants. But
he doesn't have the weapons he had in Minnesota, so we'll see how he is. I mean, last year he played with Sanders and Sutton and stuff like that, and he had a couple decent games, but he wasn't even. I don't know. It's gonna be a bad year for Washington.
Man,
really bad year.
What a bummer. And Washington.
If Geis is healthy, I think Geis. How does Chris Thompson play out? What's your thoughts on that? Let's go to that right now.
Well, and I think it's weird because I've been a big Chris Thompson truther for the last few years, and he's been he's the definition of injury prone when it comes to running back. True. But I really liked him, and he's had a lot of boom games when it comes to PPR. I don't know. I don't see him. He's off the radar for a lot of drafts and a lot of mock drafts. I don't even see him getting drafted anymore. Mm-hmm. And he used to be kind of that mid-round, right around Duke Johnson when he was relevant for receiving. And now you're kind of thinking of it with Case Keenum. Obviously, I don't. If there was a better quarterback there, Chris Thompson's always one of those guys that you can look at, and if a running back goes down and you're in the kind of hurting for running back, you can plug him in, and he'll get a few receptions.
Find him on the waiver wire and throw him in your flex or something.
So, and it'll be interesting.
6 points.
I'm very interested on Darius Geis. I want to see what he can do. And I want to see him starting in the NFL, in an NFL game that matters.
Old man AP ain't letting it happen.
He's not. He's not.
He's going to be stiff-arming his own teammate at this point.
Isn't he already there for another 2 years anyway? So
Yep, 2 years, this year, next
Goodness,
year.
dude,
Next
he'll be
year is
play-
not certain, but this year I think AP will out-carry Guy. I don't know, man. That's gonna be a good one to watch. That's something to keep an eye on, especially if you're a Geis owner. I mean, you have them in Dynasty, so you'll be paying attention.
yeah, and I'll keep you guys posted as I keep Geis on my bench while I drafted him in like the 4th or 5th round. And then also, I wanted to talk about there was one more thing that was popping up, and I got to remember it here. Maybe I can't. Okay, we'll just jump right into our Saturday draft, our live draft, how it went. There wasn't anything too out of the ordinary or crazy where it makes you scratch your head until you get to around like the round 5, 6 when wide receivers and running backs are going a lot sooner than they should. But I mean, to me, I didn't really see anything that was too obscene when it came to our draft. Anything that pops up in your head, Ryan? That
I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to see. I mean, Aaron Rodgers went 3rd overall in the 2nd round. Our quarterbacks are 6 points per passing touchdown. That's new to this year, and per 20 yards is 1 point as well. So quarterbacks do get a little bit of a boost. This guy's a huge Packer fan and loves Aaron Rodgers, so I saw it coming. Patty Mahomes went 1st pick in the 3rd round, which I really thought he was going to go in the 2nd round in this league.
And Kelsey going 4th in the 2nd round. I mean, that's kind of standard.
Everything else looked pretty normal. James Conner fell in the late 2nd. Nick
keeps
Chubb fell to the early to mid 3rd round, though. I think that was the biggest thing that happened.
The 4th pick in the 3rd round when I drafted. The 2nd pick in the 3rd round he was picked. And then and then later on, I traded. I picked the 4th pick, which was Antonio Brown, and I ended up trading Antonio Brown for Nick Chubb later on in the draft.
Yeah.
And then the guy in between us wanted Chubb, and I just recently traded Nick Chubb and some for Connor and Gordon. So
Connor and Josh Gordon.
Yes. Yep. Josh Gordon. So very cool how you're able to trade during the draft, and it's also very cool to see the players that are getting drafted earlier or later. I mean, there's some people making great choices. They had their cheat sheets, which is good to see. Some people come unprepared. And
the guy that took Rodgers in the 2nd round did not have a cheat sheet and didn't have anything. So
No.
You can tell by his draft. Also, I wanted to mention this. You were talking about trades on draft day. This is our 3rd year doing it, and we literally only had that one trade, which is wild because in previous podcasts we talked about how great that was. Even if there's no trades, just the experience of in-person drafting still beats the live online drafting. This year we really didn't have any pick-for-pick trades. We almost had one go down for the 1st round. The guy that had the 1st overall pick almost got the 3rd overall pick by giving up his 2nd and 3rd rounds to get the 1st and a 10th. It almost happened, but he backed out last second. That's the first year we did not have a 1st round trade. I traded out of the 1st round last year. And the year before that, I traded with you to get to the 5th pick instead of the 2nd pick, and didn't work out for me. I remember that trade. Let's not talk about it. But yeah, there was, and even in last year and the year before, there was multiple trades in between the 3rd and the 8th round for guys getting up into these rounds and getting their guys. This year, everyone stayed, and it sounded like a lot of guys came prepared and had their own strategy on where they were picking, which was good. That's another good thing about getting your draft order out early, which in my league, it requires everyone to pay me before the draft order goes out, which is also a good idea.
What do you think, Ryan? I know a lot of people I talk to, they don't get their draft order until draft day.
Terrible. A lot of my leagues are like that. Actually, all of them but mine is like that. I don't like it. I don't like it. If you should know where you're picking and give you at least a couple weeks to prepare. I think if you're a seasoned fantasy player, you'll be fine no matter what, but it's still good to prepare and see what you can build. In my opinion, what's your take on that?
Well, I was telling the guy, I was saying it's good to know early because then you can use that position in a mock draft. And I mean, like me and Ryan, we got 100. We probably hit over 100 mock drafts just in our spot.
More than that. Yep.
And then it makes me think also, though, I really like it because I mock draft from everywhere. I know me and Ryan mock draft from all positions also. And maybe just it just adds that little extra knowledge. I mean, some people come in blind no matter where they're at, even if they know it. But the people that are like me and Ryan, we could draft from anywhere. and be good with it.
Yeah,
so,
dude. Like yesterday, my 14 man, I had the 14th pick again, and I still came out with a bomb team. So it doesn't matter where you draft. It's just about it would be nice to know and prepare for it. That's where it comes down to.
Yeah. I like being prepared, and it's also fun too if you use the you trade draft picks. Then you're able to trade draft picks knowing it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing, and then also another thing is that doing all those mock drafts at your position, you get a really good feel of where people are going, and then also you get a good feel of what people are going to do before the draft. I mean, Ryan almost knew the first 2 rounds before it even happened, but then again, it got to that time.
I got it pretty close.
And then all of a sudden they switched it up a little bit.
Yeah,
but...
a couple people did switch it up a little bit.
So, Ryan, run me through your team. Tell me where you picked from, and just give me kind of your pick-by-pick and what you were thinking at the time, how you built your team.
Name off my roster and then kind of go through the draft a little bit?
I would just go through the rounds. Just pick who you picked that round and what you were thinking.
Okay, sure. So I had last pick in the league. So my first 3 drafts this year, I had last pick in all of them. So last pick, Odell fell to me. Odell was there, and he was my target from the get-go. My next thing was I was doing plenty of mock drafts, and I told myself if Michael Thomas falls, I'm going to take Odell and Michael Thomas. And here we go. Michael Thomas fell, but last second I switched it up. I went with a bigger upside player, and I took Juju. So I comboed Odell and Juju at the turn. There wasn't any running backs there I wanted to take. Dalvin Cook, yeah, if he's not injury prone, he's a first-round running back, but I just feel like he's an injury-prone type of guy. James Conner, I need another year out of him. Joe Mixon, I wasn't going to take him because, like I said, he's going to get beat up over there as the only guy. So I went safe. I went Odell and Juju, and then the next turn, 3-4 turn, this is where it got pretty crazy. I told myself if Leonard Fournette fell or Damian Williams, I would have taken both of them, but they didn't. They went 2 picks before me. So all my mock drafts I've been doing, I literally got my team that I was mocking. So Stephon Diggs was there and Brandon Cooks. Now, before you guys freak out, like, why would you go 4 straight receivers? You got to understand this league, this main league that I'm in, we start 3 receivers and a flex. So I was able to fill my 3 receivers and my flex with Odell, Juju, Stephon Diggs, and Brandon Cooks.
Which is
I feel like it was a very, very strong start to the draft. And later on, I did fill my running backs with great value. So Kerryon went right after my Brandon Cooks. I was debating Kerryon, but just recent news and how they're using him, I just felt like it wasn't the right choice. I was going to pass on him as my RB1. I didn't like it. 5th round, 5-6 turn came, and Sonny Michel was on the board, and I felt like it was a must. Tyler took Josh Jacobs earlier that round. I was debating Sonny Michel and Josh Jacobs there. I would have taken Josh Jacobs because I feel like he's probably a little safer. Sonny Michel, I'm going to get good value out of him early in the year. I'm probably going to look to trade him before he goes down, honestly. It's probably the move I will make. And in the 6th round, the turn, I got David Montgomery in the 6th round. I feel like that is crazy value, for one. People are afraid to take him because he's a rookie, but rookie running backs win you leagues, man. And Tyler, you know that. I mean, you took Josh Jacobs. I'm surprised you didn't take Montgomery over Jacobs. What? Can I ask why you did that?
I think that I'm more intrigued by the running back for the Raiders going into this new season, and there's nobody behind him that at all scares me, to him being almost a 3-down back. And
that's really all you have to say right there. You answered that question pretty good, dude. I wanted to see what you'd say if I could throw a curveball at you. I understand it. Like, Josh Jacobs has no competition. The offense in Oakland is going to probably be not as bad as everyone thinks.
No, and if they're
I
worried
just feel
about
like
more
they've been
passing
hiding
game,
Josh Jacobs, and they're going to unleash him. I truly think, like, that's a part of me thinks that. So I did take Jacobs in another league, and I took Josh Jacobs over Carson in one of my leagues, and probably I'm going to get some fire for that. But I did it. All right.
In this league, I drafted Jacobs over Carson also.
Yep. Yeah, you did. 1 pick. Yeah, Carson went right after you. Okay. And I'm guessing because you're kind of scared of that injury history?
Yeah, that. And I mean, the Seattle offense, I'm almost worried about the amount of work.
I'm worried about Seattle's defense, Tyler. That's where it hurts Chris Carson, because what if they're getting whooped by 14? You really think they're just going to keep pounding the rock? I don't think so. They're going to have to pass this year. more than they did last year. So
and they have pennies, and that's always
later in the draft. I got pennies, so we'll talk about that when I get there. Here I got David Montgomery in round 6. I feel it's great value. Michelle Montgomery with those 4 receivers is kind of ridiculous. The 7-8 turn, this is where it gets pretty wild. I got Evan Ingram in the 8th, but in the 7th I took Penny. My choice right there was Penny or Kenyon Drake. I just feel the Miami offense. That's another thing. Seattle's offense is going to be better than Miami, even though I don't know if it's not going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But Miami, I just do not trust. I do not trust Miami at all. So I took Penny there, and part of that was the injury history with Carson. And another thing is the Mike Davis. Where did his touches go? I think it goes to Penny. Maybe a handful go to. So what did he get? 10 to 12 last year, Mike Davis? 10 a game, 8 to 10, something like that. So let's just say 25% goes to Carson, and the rest goes to Penny. So that instantly gives Penny some flex appeal every week, I feel. Evan Ingram in round 8. So I was able to go Odell, Juju, Diggs, Cooks, Montgomery, Michelle, and Evan Ingram to round out my team right there. It's a super strong team. I came out of this draft just feeling great. Baker Mayfield fell to me in round 9.
Yeah, let's finish off with your quarterback, and then that gives you his starting lineup.
That's
and then
my starting lineup.
And Baker that late to pair up with Odell.
I didn't want to. I honestly wanted to just even right now on our waiver wire, dude. There's Darnold, there's Josh Allen, there's Kirk Cousins. There's quarterbacks everywhere. I literally could have not taken a quarterback and been fine. But as I was saying before, kind of in that touchdown-only league, I have the combination of Baker and Odell. I'm all in on them. I will live and die with them. Baker has number 1 overall potential, and so does Odell at their position.
Yeah, so Ryan's team, it's very strong. You look at it from the draft, and our league being that 3 wide receivers and going wide receiver heavy, I also had kind of the same strategy.
This is your first year doing that, right? Wide receiver heavy?
Yeah, pretty much, because I went Bell last year.
Yep. You went Bell, Julio, Gronk, so you split it up last year. The years past, you took running backs as well.
So, yeah, I kind of took a page out of Ryan's book. I really liked the way it turned out, and I almost, when I made that trade with Antonio Brown, I wish Antonio Brown was a little bit more of a secure wide receiver, kind of the same one like Ryan got. And then you kind of start with those 3 strong wide receivers. And so my draft went, I had the 4 pick. Like I have always said on this podcast, at the 4, I didn't trust Zeke, so I went Hopkins at 4. Zeke went right behind me. And I think Hopkins, I've said it on previous episodes, I have Hopkins over Adams, but it's not that far in between. And if Adams does better than Hopkins, that's just good for me because I'm a Packers fan. So I'll take Hopkins' security. And then as it was coming around, it's a long wait when you draft early. And I get to me, and I was thinking, good, Mike Evans made it to me because I heard from the grapevine I thought someone was going to take and go wide receiver heavy early in the draft. That's kind of what Ryan told me the first 2 rounds were going to seem like. But Mike Evans dropped, and I picked Mike Evans up as my 2. So I was sitting with Hopkins, Mike Evans, and I knew coming back around that I
want to pause you right there, Tyler. I want to pause you right there. So you took Mike Evans over Connor and Mixon. Can I have Connor, Mixon, Chubb, and Gurley over? So what was your thought process on that?
So every mock draft I've done, I've kind of set my team up for what would happen if I took Hopkins and then I took that Connor, or if they fell to me like Dalvin Cook. I feel like those running backs are more suited for the 3rd round, and the way that people are taking running backs heavy lately has pushed those guys to make it seem like you need to draft them that early. And I really like...
don't.
Yeah, and when I scrolled down, I had to scroll down for Mike Evans because a lot of those guys were up there ADP-wise above him. I mean, I'm pretty sure Todd Gurley, Chubb, Connor, Mixon,
they're all ranked ahead
Cook,
of Evans.
So I had to scroll down. I grabbed Mike Evans because I think he is going to be a wide receiver 1, and I have him in my 2 spot. And that amount of running backs that are above Evans, if everybody behind me, I have 6 players behind me coming around, I feel like one of them was going to fall to me. And it's exactly what happened. It's exactly what didn't happen. And all of them got taken, and I had to take Antonio Brown. And I wasn't too concerned. I had Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, and T.Y. Hilton. And I could have taken like Leonard Fournette or Damian
This was
Williams.
before the Luck's news, though. This is before Luck retired. He retired after the 10th round in our league. So T.Y. Hilton was taken in the mid-third here.
Yeah, but we still have to be worried because he had that calf issue.
Yep.
So I think that's why T.Y. was falling. And then Keenan Allen with his injury, I feel like Antonio Brown was the only third wide receiver I could take out of that group without reaching for the Brandon Cooks or for reaching for the Robert Woods or Edelman, anyone from that. So I took Antonio Brown.
Diggs is in there too.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs.
Because Diggs and Cooks fell to me, and I gladly took them.
I know, and I, like I said, I had the same strategy as you, and I'm like, okay, Antonio Brown is my 3. I have 3 stud wide receivers. I'm looking into round 4. It takes a while to get back to me, and I took Robert Woods. Robert Woods was still there in the 4th. I thought that was great value. You're talking about either Robert Woods or Cooks being that number 1 on their team. They could go either. It could go either way, depending on. Woods is more of the safer. I know Ryan was telling me too. Amari Cooper dropped that far. And Cooper's injured right now. I mean, Galladay was there, and we were kind of going over my strategy. And who I wanted. And I wanted that 4th wide receiver, similar to what Ryan was doing. And the way my team looked, I had a little bit of risk, so I went Robert Woods. He's safer.
Safe as a flex play. That's insane. Robert Woods in a flex. That's sick.
And it looks great. And I was looking at my team, I'm like, okay, now it's perfect time to go for those young running backs. That's Sony Michel. So it gets back around to me, and I'm looking at my team, and that's where that time comes in the 5th when Josh Jacobs was sitting there, and I knew in my head, I'm like, I see Josh Jacobs, there's Chris Carson, there's Sony Michel, and David Montgomery. And really my decision was between Josh Jacobs and Sony Michel because I have them listed pretty close to each other. I have Sony Michel over Josh Jacobs in my rankings, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. I was taking the risk that maybe Ryan doesn't take Sony Michel, but I thought he probably will. And Josh Jacobs was the next safest for me for the upside. Mm-hmm. So I take Josh Jacobs. It comes back around. Of course, Ryan takes Sony Michel and David Montgomery. So as that comes around to me in the 6th round, I'm looking at the wide receivers, and that's right at that point.
This is where you pulled the trigger on the trade, right?
Yep, that's what I was going to say. It's getting around to me in the 6th, and I look over at the guy that drafted Chubb, and he was hating his team because I think he went running back heavy.
No, it's because Marlon Mack fell to him in the 4th, and he's like, damn it, this is why I didn't want to take Chubb. I should have taken a receiver taken Mack right here. And then he's like, then you mentioned it, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he straight up traded Brown for Chubb. I mean, it was a 2-spot difference, but they both got who they wanted.
Yeah, and in a tier list, so then that switches my 3rd round pick from Antonio Brown to Nick Chubb. So it drops me to 3 wide receivers, and I look at a very good upside receiver in Calvin Ridley sitting there. And I haven't talked up Calvin Ridley.
This is the late 6th round you got Ridley. That's not bad.
And
I
mean,
not bad at all.
The only way I can justify that, I have Julio Jones, I think, is my 3rd wide receiver, and I have a feeling he's going to have a great season. But let's just say if for some reason he does have that kind of small setback like he does every year, and Calvin Ridley takes that step forward, I think Calvin Ridley could be a great, and he's in my flex, and he's a huge upside. So 11 out of 12 games in the Dome, you can't go wrong with Ridley crossing across the middle, and could be possibly wide open running down the house. So he showed it before, so that gives me a team. Let me just finish out who I had here. My first bench position was Miles Sanders, and I'm not going to get too far into the bench. So I picked up late in the draft Lamar Jackson. I kind of made a mistake here. I should have went Jared Goff. He was the guy it was between him and Lamar Miller, and just for having a lapse of judgment in my mind, 6-point touchdown, I should have went Goff. But I picked up Lamar Jackson. I'll see if maybe I can, like Ryan said, there's a ton of quarterbacks on the list. Maybe
I don't think the mistake is going to hurt you. Honestly, you're going to be fine either way with that. Just because of the quarterbacks on the market right now, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and then I did also the late round tight end, and I went Mark Andrews, and he kind of pairs up with my Lamar Jackson. So if Lamar Jackson's going to throw any touchdowns, I think it's going to be to Mark Andrews.
Yeah, that same round, Tyler, 14, where you took Lamar over Goff. The first pick of that round, I took Kyler Murray over Goff. is a backup quarterback, so I'm just hoping for that upside on Murray type thing. I think that's what I went with there. Because as I'm looking at this round, as you're talking about it, I'm like, damn, maybe I should have took Goff over Murray. I mean, that's probably the safe bet, but I already have Baker, so it's like, maybe. And trade value of quarterbacks in this league are not that much, so it's not a huge deal. But if Kyler Murray somehow, some way turns into 75% of Patty Mahomes did last year, obviously I'll have some trade value.
Yeah, and I should have been looking at my rankings a little bit closer. I think when it came up, in my head, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm just going to take Lamar Jackson. And I didn't even, for some reason, Jared Goff just does not look like a sexy
probably because you were
pick.
thinking you were getting Mark Andrews in the next round. You had to have been thinking like that combo. It had to have crossed your mind. It had to.
Yeah, I already had Mark
swayed your
Andrews
opinion.
queued in for my tight end. And
Yep.
he's also not a sexy pick. So, I mean, my team.
I like it. It's a safe pick, though. He has some touchdown upside, and I think he's going to be the guy to move the chains on 3rd and 5.
We'll keep an eye out. I mean, if you think about it, you can also use tight end as a streamer, or I could trade with someone who blows up on my bench, and maybe I'll use that as the trade bait I need to get a better tight end.
That's another thing, TJ. Tyler, you looked at the freaking the tight ends on the market right now? You got guys that are out there. Quarterback and tight end is where you took super late that you could easily help. Austin Hooper is a free agent in our league. Trey Burton, Jimmy Graham, Jordan Reed, Chris Herndon will be good when he comes back. There's guys out there. There's definitely guys out there that you could use.
Yeah. So see,
I'll take a look at that. Yeah, you'll be fine at tight end and quarterback, and you waited till the very end of the draft, and it worked out.
I think it was like second or third last pick. So my team looks like this. I got quarterback Lamar Jackson. My wide receiver core is DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, and Robert Woods. My running backs, now that I made a trade in the season already, I have James Conner and Josh Jacobs. My tight end is Mark Andrews, and my flex is Calvin Ridley right now. So very strong team. I have Dallas's defense. For some reason, someone took New England from me, but I'm okay with Dallas has a great week 1 matchup against the Giants.
They have like the first handful of games are good matchups.
Yeah, they go Giants, Washington, that just named Keenum as their starting quarterback, Miami, and then they go at New Orleans. So maybe right around week 4, I'll be switching out Dallas for somebody else. And then I got Jason Myers as my kicker.
My kicker.
I picked him up. So I made a trade that was a 3 for 2. Opened up a spot on my bench, and I picked up my kicker, which
my kicker, damn it.
Yeah, maybe. I'll send you a nice trade, right?
Send me a trade. All right, he's yours. You can have him. He's your kicker.
All right, well let's jump into, unless there was anything else you wanted to touch on in the draft. I'm gonna jump into a couple questions.
Oh, we're good. Yeah, let's hit some questions.
Okay, so just kind of on the prompt impromptu questions here.
All right.
So,
I didn't know we were doing questions. Let's do it.
No, and we can make it quick because we're reaching that hour mark here pretty soon. We got pick 5. You have pick 5, Ryan, in a PPR.
Sure.
The draft is happening tonight. He said he posted this an hour ago. He said, torn between who to take, assuming first 4 go Saquon, CMC, Kamara, and Zeke. We answered the same question. I didn't even realize it. We answered the same question last week, and if someone takes all 4 of those, it's easy. I mean, for you, it's either Adams.
You're Hopkins. I'm Adams. Flip-flop them. Doesn't matter. All day. Do it. Done. End of story. Next question.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Next question.
I mean, I took Hopkins in the 4. Hopkins, take
Over
Adams, and then just walk it out like we did in our draft. Listen to exactly how our drafts went and build your team that way. I mean, look at the running backs we have with this 3 wide receiver core. It's insane.
A lot of my stuff I do say, I think about our 10-man league and our 3 receivers with a flex. So bear with me on that. If you have the leagues, I think every league should do 3 receivers though. That's the thing. 2 receivers, 2 running backs. Of course, you kind of want to go running back, receiver, running back, and then I would go 2 more receivers at that point. But it all matters your team size as well.
And let me say it this way. Okay, so we have a 3 wide receiver league and then 2 running back. If you have a 2 wide receiver league and a 2 running back, and me and Ryan are going 4 straight wide receivers, that just gives you an open round to switch out like that wide receiver.
Take a running back, yeah.
For a running back or a tight end. If you want to reach at a tight end on your 4th pick and then go with those 2 running backs, it's gonna end up the same way.
RB0, baby. It works.
So it almost saves you a pick at wide receiver, where me and Ryan are almost forced to take that wide receiver just to fill out our flex. So
Another reason why I just want to break down RB0 a little bit. Another reason why it works so well, especially if you're mid to late, is because it's literally stamped on everyone's forehead. Get running backs. Everyone needs running backs. You need them. You need them. So everyone's reaching on like Joe Mixon and shit like that. Like I just don't think Joe Mixon's gonna represent even second round value this year.
No.
And I know Tyler, you were onto that early in these podcasts, and I kind of disagreed with you a little bit. But I'll admit you were right on that. I'm with you now. He's going to start off solid. He's going to have some nice games, obviously, because the volume's there. But he's going to get worn down very fast. He's going to be the only option. He's going to be keyed in on, and it's not going to be pretty. I don't want anyone like that. I'd rather take these receivers that are going to get 150 or more targets. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And while everyone's going running backs, you zig while they zag, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And you get the value at receiver, and you end up with these 3 or 4 just stacked receivers. And then late, when everyone else is taking mid-round receivers, guess what? You got the running backs of your choosing.
And I mean, I look at I look at mine and Ryan's teams and their projections, and I mean, look at Ryan's wide receivers where he has so targets to these wide receivers. It goes 160, 150, 130, and mine go 160, 130, 130. We want the targets. You start drafting guys like, let's say some people have like Christian Kirk in their starting lineup. He's only projected for 66 targets, but people are really talking Christian Kirk up, and you think
he's
that's
a wide receiver 2 on some teams because he's talked up so much.
Exactly. I mean, even Brandon Cooks is at about 120, and he's in his flex. We're trying to get those high target wide receivers because you can find the rushing or receiving running backs that are going to give you value. It's hard, and I'm honestly switching from people saying it's hard to find running backs. It's hard to find wide receivers later in the draft. A lot of people like to talk it up like, oh man, I'm finding such value as wide receivers. My whole bench is value running backs. That's how crazy it is, and I go and get my stud wide receivers early that I know are going to produce because I don't want to be stuck with a I'm trying to think of like off the top of my head who I wouldn't want to be stuck with. I mean, Godwin's a good one because I think he's going to get those targets. But let's talk about like Curtis Samuel.
D.D. Westbrook's nice too, man. Curtis Samuel's still up. Yeah, dude, he's up in the air, and people are drafting this guy as like their wide receiver too. You can't trust that. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, even
he can be very good for sure, but he's not a guarantee at all. At all.
And even like I was talking about Christian Kirk, like I'm just kind of bouncing around to people's teams around here. I mean, people are drafting Valdez Scantling as in their top wide receivers.
7, dude.
He's a 70 target guy. I mean, you want somebody who's 120 plus targets as your starter for a wide receiver, and then you want to keep those 70 target guys there, maybe as if the one goes down and they gain a little bit of more targets. But I'd rather have a high target wide receiver and then pair him with a later running back that can still produce with the rushing and receiving. So
I got a question for you, Tyler. So obviously, you gotta think about this though. I'm gonna have Odell, Juju, Diggs, and Cooks. So they're basically gonna be starting all year. That means I have to worry about 2 running backs. So I have Sonny Michel and David Montgomery, pretty solid. Right or wrong? First question.
Yeah, that's the exact
pretty solid for how I started with that. Now my bench, I have Rashad Penny, Matt Breida, Darwin Thompson, Justice Hill. Now obviously Justice Hill and Darwin Thompson, they're dart throws. Matt Breida is gonna be solid, and Penny should be solid, so I have backup there. Now Darwin Thompson, what if he takes that job? Now I have an RB1, and Justice Hill as well. Mark Ingram's not that special, so like I have bench depth as well. Yeah, I mean, what do you feel about my bench depth? Are you seeing it the same way I am, or are you kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I want that?
Well, let's do it the same way I had it. So if I didn't have James Conner, and I went Hopkins, Evans, Woods, and then I had Antonio Brown. Yeah. And then my bench right now would have been Miles Sanders, Latavius Murray, Darrell Henderson, Jalen Samuels, Damian Harris, and I had Justin Jackson. That's 6 running backs.
Pretty solid, man. If you would have even if you kept that and didn't trade it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
man. Plus, where you took Calvin Ridley, you probably would have went in a different direction.
Yeah, I might have even picked up another running back there. Yeah. So, and then I'm looking at the wide receivers I have on my bench. I mean, obviously I took Geronimo Allison and I picked up Josh Gordon from the trade.
Yep.
But I'm not holding on to these two guys thinking that they're going to be ones. I'm actually just holding on to these guys so that when they go off for a game that's 16 plus or they do it twice in a row, people are going to feed into that, and I'm going to use them as trade bait. The running backs are there just for that injury if something happens. The wide receivers are there just for those couple of boom games. If they don't, I mean, they're going to be on the waiver wire sooner than later, and I'm going to pick up just another running back and sit with those.
Yeah, man. I'm just looking here. I went 4 straight receivers, and I didn't take another receiver till the 10th round where Christian Kirk fell, which I think is pretty good value. That's my only receiver I have on my bench.
See, that's crazy when you look back at it and you kind of analyze what happened. Yeah, seriously, we went 4 wide receivers, and then we just loaded our bench with running backs, and you're getting those great running backs late, like Josh Jacobs and like a Latavius Murray, and just sitting on them. So let's get to our next question. We kind of veered off the path of no return.
It was just backing up RB0, which I want to spread around a little bit.
Yeah. Get some more people on board.
The right way. You're
going to love your team by the time you're done drafting.
Give it a shot. That's all we ask. Just give it a shot.
I guarantee it. Okay, so next one.
Give it a shot. There you go. Start with that.
Give me your quick answer, and we'll move on to the next one. Would you trade away Tyreek Hill for Antonio Brown?
No.
All right, good. Okay. Would you trade T.Y. Hilton and Latavius Murray for Tyreek Hill? If it were offered to you today and you had T.Y. Hilton and Latavius Murray, would you take Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
Yes, 100%. Tyreek Hill.
All day, baby.
Both times. Give me Tyreek Hill. And you're talking about Tyreek Hill, it's going early second, and you're trading away. T.Y. Hilton's going to be falling into the late third, and Latavius Murray's a 6th. So I think
I would still do it, even I think if Luck was there. I still think I would do that trade because I think Latavius Murray is pretty replaceable.
And he's not that high name. Yep. That is,
he's not going to be that spectacular. He'll be the guy that could be maybe filling as an RB2 flex player.
Okay, you only get to pick one of these 3 running backs, Ryan. I'm going to read them to you starting today. Which one are you taking? We have Tevin Coleman, Darwin Thompson, and Darrell Henderson.
Tevin Coleman. Not
You're
high
taking
on
the starter?
him. I mean, I would love to go with Darwin because he's better than Tevin Coleman, and if he gets that job, definitely. But if I'm picking in a draft right now and those 3 on the board, I'll take Tevin.
You cannot stray away from Tevin Coleman because he's got guaranteed touches.
Opportunity, yeah.
Yes, guaranteed opportunity. You're taking dart throws with Darwin Thompson and Darrell Henderson. Even though they've both been talked up a lot, Tevin Coleman is a great running back who is going to get a lot of receiving and rushing. And you have to take Tevin Coleman. My lineup right here would be Tevin Coleman, Darwin Thompson, Darrell Henderson, just how it's laid out.
Yep, same.
But, okay, that'll do it. I just wanted to hit a couple quick questions. I want to reach out to these guys on Sleeper, let them know that we are out here answering questions. Make sure you're listening in. We had another great episode today, just talking about our draft that happened Saturday. Ryan's already in stall for 10 drafts and 10 leagues. Absolutely insane. The man is a machine. And
dude, I love this stuff. I really do. It's a passion.
And it's all over the place. And people are dropping like flies in the NFL, and it's just making other names pop up. I mean, anyone that drafted no one even drafted Duke Johnson in drafts. People are on the waiver wire already picking him up. Guaranteed they're spending fab money that you wouldn't believe for Duke Johnson. So just every day something could happen. So keep your ears out. We appreciate everyone listening. Go down. Make sure you comment, rate, and subscribe. Go to our YouTube and subscribe. I'm going to post this on YouTube. Every podcast goes up there. And then also, if you could go on whatever platform you're listening to us, and then just hit the stars. Let us know that you're listening. It really helps. Right now, we are kind of just here talking to ourselves, wanting to reach out to the public and let them know.
Just thinking of that right there. Let me just piggyback off that right there. So, Tyler, if you could, in the YouTube comments, post our teams. I just want to, maybe we can get some interaction there. And you guys, if you're listening, go on there and just, whose team is better?
Yeah.
And what you maybe would have done different.
Yeah, I could try to take a screenshot, or I'll just copy paste our teams down there. Or even if we have the draft board still, I'll post that picture and you could take a look at the draft board.
That'd be nice. Put a draft board in there. Just check it out.
And then in the comments,
RB0 strategy or if what you would have done different, and then maybe just give a rank on the team.
Yeah, let us know who you think did best in the comments. It could even be someone that's not us, but appreciate everything. Appreciate everyone listening, and we will have another podcast coming up later this week. We're going to try to continue doing 2 a week, and then also on Saturday, Sunday morning, we're going to get on live. Not this Sunday, but as soon as the season starts, we're going to go on Twitch, and we are going to stream our conversation, answering questions. I know we're going to get some people that we know in the chat that want to have a good answer to who they start.
Yeah,
week
already,
1.
I was just talking to a few guys today. They already said they can't wait till we do it, and so we can answer the questions on there live. And I think it'd be pretty fun, just some interaction.
Unfortunately, we're helping out our own league, but we want to help out everyone. So we appreciate you listening, and hope you have a great week. I know it's Monday now, so it just started, but hopefully it flies by and football's here before we know it. So have a great day.